You're listening to Calm Living Blueprint Revisited, Reflections from the Path with Dr. Candice Esposito. Well, in this episode, we're going to learn how to handle painful feelings of anxiety and fear and depression, how to open up and make room for them, how to drop the struggle with them. That was me over 10 years ago, still trying to find language for something I now feel in my bones, that the body has its own wisdom, and that fear softens not through resistance, but through relationship. Back then, I called it opening up to the feeling. Now, I'd call it letting the energy complete itself. Different words, same truth. Opening up to them and making room for them sounds a bit counterintuitive, doesn't it? The opposite of probably what you want to do. I can hear myself trying to reassure people, trying to make something unfamiliar feel possible. Now I see it even more clearly. Fear becomes suffering the moment we tighten against it. The moment we say, this shouldn't be here. The moment we brace. When we stop bracing, the energy that feels like fear can begin to move again. And what was once terror becomes sensation. What was once sensation becomes space. And what was once space becomes truth. Now, of course, the actors, they couldn't swat at the flies since that would ruin the shot, right? They had to let the flies, crawl on their faces without reacting. One of the actors, Ray Winstone, you might know him better from the movie Hugo. He played Uncle Claude. Well, I remember reading that Mr. Winstone wondered how lions in wildlife documentaries always seemed so oblivious to the flies. And get this, soon he himself, Ray Winstone, was able to let the flies just be there without bothering him. He actually said they felt like feathers stroking my face. I smile hearing that now, because that's the shift. Not tolerance, not endurance, a change in relationship. When we stop fighting the feeling, we begin to sense it as it truly is. Fear becomes warmth. Anxiety becomes movement. Tension becomes aliveness. The flies become feathers. Suppose you could separate yourself from all the thoughts about how uncomfortable you feel or how bad things are, and instead of trying to make all those thoughts go away, you opened up to them. That was the heart of it. Even then, I was pointing to something deeper than cognitive techniques. I was pointing to consciousness. Today, I'd say it even more simply. When you stop arguing with your inner experience, suffering ends. Not because the feeling disappears, but because you're no longer inside the struggle. Another objection I hear a lot from clients is that they feel they need to reduce the anxiety first before they can do anything else. I need to get rid of my anxiety first before I can actually do anything. Well, this is a myth. Still true. People often think, once I feel calm, I'll live my life again. once. But calm isn't what allows you to live. Living is what allows calm to return. Life isn't waiting for your fear to go away. It's waiting for you to stop negotiating with it. An old Hindu master was fed up with the continual complaints from his apprentice. So one day he asked the young man, his apprentice, to fetch him a cup of water and a bowl of salt. When the young man returned, the master said, "Now tip a handful of salt into the water." The apprentice did what he was told. The master then swirled the water around in the cup until the salt dissolved. "Now taste it," he said to the young man. Again, the apprentice did as he was told. "How does it taste?" the master asked. "Horrible," said the apprentice. "Yes, very unpleasant," said the master. Then he asked the apprentice to follow him to a nearby lake. "Now tip a handful of salt into the lake." The apprentice did. "Now taste the water from the lake." The apprentice drank from the lake, and this time he smiled. "Not so hard to swallow, eh?" said the master. The salt is like the inevitable pain of life. In both cases, the amount of salt is the same, but the smaller the container, the greater the bitterness. So when life gives us pain, instead of closing in around it, like this cup, we would do better to enlarge and open, like this lake. Back then, I think the metaphor was about perspective. Today, I see it more as capacity. When your chest tightens, your breath shortens, and your mind spirals, the container shrinks. When you soften, breathe, and allow the feeling, the container expands. The pain doesn't change. You change. Your openness becomes the lake. Well, I recommend remembering the acronym NAME. 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 Where N stands for notice. Notice your feelings. When fear or anxiety shows up in your body, notice where it is and what it feels like. Notice. A stands for acknowledge. Say something like, "Here's fear. I'm noticing fear." This helps you separate from the feeling. There's a huge difference between saying, "I'm afraid," versus saying, "Here's fear." You are not your feelings. Your feelings don't define who you are. So make sure the language you use reflects that. M stands for make space. Make space. Breathe into the feeling. Make room for it. When we direct our breath into and around the feeling, it helps us to drop the struggle with it. And lastly, E stands for expand awareness. Expand awareness. Because at this point, we need to re-engage and connect with the world around us. NAME. I still like this acronym. So N is for notice. Feel where the anxiety lives in your body. Not the story, the sensation. A is for acknowledge. So you say, "Here is fear," or simply feeling. A quiet shift from "I am afraid" to "fear is here" is consciousness remembering itself. M, make space. Breathe gently around the sensation, not to calm it, not to change it, simply to make room. And E is for expand awareness. Let your senses widen. Feel your feet, hear the room, see the world around you. Let the feeling exist inside a larger field of awareness. So you're not coping, you're truth making. Let's do a short version together right now. Find the place in your body where fear tends to gather. Maybe the chest, maybe the belly, maybe the throat. And notice one sensation there. Maybe warmth, tightness, movement, vibration, whatever it is. And then say quietly, here is fear. Feel how that softens the contraction. Now breathe around it as if the breath is giving the feeling more space. Now widen your awareness. Feel your shoulders, your hands, your feet. Let fear be one small note inside a much larger soundscape. Stay here for one more breath. This is the beginning of freedom. Suppose I give you a choice. Option A, you never have to feel this painful feeling ever again. Never. But it means you lose all capacity to love and care. You care about nothing and no one. Nothing matters, no one matters. Life becomes meaningless because you don't care about anything whatsoever. Option B, you get to love and care. People matter to you. Life matters. You care about what you do and what happens. You care about friends and family. You get to build loving relationships. Life becomes meaningful. And when there's a gap between what you want and what you've got, painful feelings like this one will show up. Which option do you choose? Option A or option B? I was pointing to acceptance, not resignation, openness. Today, I think I'd say it like this. Feelings are not problems. They're movements of life. They rise, peak, dissolve. When you let them move, they complete themselves. When you fight them, they persist. Your job is not to stop fear. Your job is to stop tightening around it. When you stop tightening, fear transforms. Thank you for being here with this reflection. In the next episode, we'll revisit Be Here and Now to relieve anxiety and explore what presence really is when you experience it with your whole body, not just your mind. I'm Dr. Candice Esposito. This is Calm Living Blueprint Revisited.